Welcome back to my channel. We are back with another most favorite / least favorite eyeshadow in the palette video. Today we're looking at my Melt Cosmetics collection. I don't have a ton of palettes from them, but there are, you know, these 5 here and one of the stacks over here. I do have the 420 palette on its way to me, but with the state of the world being what it is, shipping is taking a very long time for everything to get to me, so I didn't necessarily want to wait for that one. I figured we would talk about the ones that I have, and that should be sufficient. All right, why don't we just dive straight into it? I will say up front, my hands are a little bit stained from doing all the swatches in preparation for this video. It shouldn't affect my finger swatches for you guys, and my hand is pretty much clear, so when I swipe it on my hands, you should still be able to see what it is that I'm talking about. So let's start with the stack and get this one out of the way. This is the Gunmetal Stack. This is my first introduction to Melt. I don't give it a lot of love, but I keep saving it from declutters. I'm not sure why, but I do. I don't use it very often simply because it is so dark and smoky. If I can get it to open up properly, there we go. This is what it looks like. There's just the 4 shades in there. The other one is just a little mirror. And I will say this one here is my least favorite, and this one is my most favorite. So we'll take those two apart. So the least favorite is called Harsh Stone White, and the most favorite, not wild on the name, I gotta be honest, the name is Assimilate. And as a native Canadian, not so wild on that name. Regardless, this is just talking about the shades. So there they are there. Focus. Holy focus. Focus. Do I have the autofocus on? That might be my problem. Yes, I do. Come on. There it is. All right. So what I really like about the matte shade, Assimilate, is just how cool toned it is. I don't have an awful lot of cool toned brown shades, and I just like having that option. This one here, Harsh Stone White, it's not a bad shade. It's just not my favorite. It's not quite as punchy as I would like it to be, not quite as bright as I would like it to be. It's just a personal preference thing, but I had to pick one that was my least favorite, and that was the one for me. So now let's talk about the Smoke Sessions palette. Now this is one that is very fragile and very crumbly. The shades, I don't know what happened in the pressing process, but they get puffy, they kind of rise up out of the pan a little bit. I kind of have to tamp them back down. They're very sensitive, except for the 2 matte shades that are in here in the middle. The rest of them, I don't know what it is. It's just the formula is a little off. They're very pretty colors, but working with them is really difficult. They're very finicky. So I tend to just use my fingers with these because using a brush just tends to like aggravate them. And then they just kind of do that in the pan. So in here, obviously you can see we've got like the nice sort of minty greens over here and deep teals, and then the bronzy sort of murky greens over here. My favorite in here is Black Widow. Again, I gotta press these down into the pan because even just doing finger swatches, they tend to shift around. And the least favorite is Blue Dream. Ugh, see, yeah, this palette could have been great, honestly, but whatever they did with the formula and the way that they pressed them, it's just a nightmare to work with. So this is my least favorite over here, and this one is my most favorite. And there you can see them. So the thing with Blue Dream, that's what it's called, this light one, is just that it's very pale. And so it doesn't really pack much of an impact. And then the reason why I really like Black Widow is just that it's like that deep, grungy, olivey kind of shade that just speaks to my soul. I just love it. But see what I mean? Like it's not a bad color, really. It's pretty. It's just, compared to the rest of the shades that are in this palette, it's just kind of ho-hum. So I think if it had been a bit more intense, it would have saved it from this least favorite spot, but it's not, so there it is. But like, how gorgeous is that shade? It's so pretty. All right, next. So before we move into the full-size palettes, let's talk about one more of their smaller ones. This is the Radioactive Palette. There was a Radioactive Stack. I never had it, but I think this is just sort of a reinterpretation of some of the shades that were in there. And obviously you can see it's all very bright, very bold. I actually really like this palette. I think it's a ton of fun, but I do have my favorites. So my favorite is Meltdown, and my least favorite is Uranium. So Meltdown is this really deep matte teal, and Uranium is this very light lilac kind of shade over here. On the fingers, there they are. God, my hands are so stained, it's ridiculous. And then swatched out. So the reason that Uranium is in the least favorite for me is the exact same reason that Blue Dream was, is that it just doesn't really kind of come to play. Like, if we're gonna sing that old like Sesame Street song of like, one of these things is not like the other, that's this one. The rest of them all like, they're balls to the wall. This one's just kind of like, oh, can I hang out with you guys? Like, it's just, it doesn't hold its own. This one here though, what's it called? Meltdown. So gorgeous. Does stain. Stains like a mother. But it's beautiful. And even like just in terms of swatching them, it is the smoothest texture in this palette, even above all the other mattes that are in there. I'm not sure why, but it just feels really silky and buttery. And I just love the payoff on it. All right, moving on to the full-size palettes then. This is the Gemini Palette. And there you have it. You can see, again, those like murky tones that I absolutely adore. I need to be able to see it. And then more neutral options up here, but like this half is like, that gets me every time. Now, my least favorite in here is called Luna. And that makes me really sad because my dog's name is Luna and she is definitely not my least favorite. So this one is Luna, and then over here is Goals, and that one is my favorite. And there they are. I did scrub the hell out of the back of my hand, so thankfully that green, like that tealy one, didn't stain it too badly, although there's really no hope for my fingers. There we go. Holy focus, camera, come on. There we go. So you could just see how gorgeous Goals is. And then with Luna, it's not, again, it's not a bad shade, totally functional for like a transition kind of shade for me. I'm not wild about it. It's not my favorite shade in here, and hence it's in my least favorite slot. It's not, it performs nicely, it's fine, it's just, it's kind of a non-color to me. Like I look at it and I'm like, yeah, okay, you're functional, but you're not necessarily pretty. So hence it's in my least favorite spot. But holy crap, Goals. I could just like rub that all over my face and be perfectly happy. I'd look insane, but I'd be pretty. All right, so the last two palettes that we're going to talk about are the Vita palette and the Morte palette. This was part of their Amore Eterno collection that released last fall. Honestly, they set the bar so high for themselves with this entire collection. The packaging is beyond, like it's insanely gorgeous. Even like the gel eyeliner came in like a die cut sort of box. The lipsticks did as well. The whole thing was just so well conceived. The performance of these shadows is probably the best of any of the palettes that I have. Even like the shimmer shadows, they're certainly way better quality than the ones that you find in the smoke sessions. They're just stunning palettes. I'm so glad that I purchased both of them. I just cannot rave enough about this particular collection. And again, I think it's one of those like, now they really need to like keep that momentum, and some of the things that they've released since then have kind of been like wah wah for me, which is why I haven't picked them up. They just haven't excited me in the same way that this collection did. Okay, having said that though, let's go ahead and talk about Vita, and this is their warmer sort of, I view it as being a bit more like on the autumnal side of things, but it's so freaking beautiful. It is so pretty. And again, obviously, that's the whole point of this video, is that I do have a favorite and a least favorite. So you're gonna have to forgive me because I don't know how to pronounce the names properly. So what I might do is grab out the phone and how do you pronounce this one? No, come on.
Syrup. Syrup.
Syrup?
Syrup.
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 Syrup? I would have thought syrup. Hey?
Syrup.
Oh, shush. Okay, well, apparently syrup. This gorgeous, gorgeous green shimmer here. And then, okay, I'm gonna guess at this one, and I really don't mean any disrespect by guessing, but agua ardiente? Feel free to correct me down below, but those are the two there. So I just love this green. Now I have to say, not wild on the way it feels. It actually feels a little bit sticky, and it does kind of tug when I'm swiping it on my hand, the green. But it's still like, it still applies to the eyes, no problem. It's effing gorgeous. Like I love the color of it. And I find that it doesn't like crumble away or do anything like that. And then the only reason that I've chosen this one as my least favorite is simply because I find it's a bit on the cooler side of things. And I think a warmer brown would have played well with the rest of what is in here. So it's not a major complaint. Again, the pigmentation's there. It works perfectly fine. I just think if it was a little bit more obviously warm, I think it would have fit in with this palette a little bit better. That's my only gripe though. Okay, so then the final palette is the Morte palette. That's what I'm wearing on my eyes today. And it's so gorgeous. It's so dark and moody, but beautiful and just so different from any other palette that I have. I love this palette. I love this palette. And I love it so much that I could not decide on one favorite. I couldn't decide on two favorites. I have three. So we're gonna go ahead and swatch those, and I do have a least favorite. So you're gonna have to, again, forgive me with the pronunciations. I have looked them up as best I can. I'm not making any promises. I have zero Spanish accent abilities, so I apologize. Okay, so there are my selections. So least favorite is over here, Calaca, and then the three favorites, this one is Sangre, this one is Katrina, and then over here is Lagrimas, or Lagrima, I don't know how to say it. Okay, let's get into swatchy swatches. These shadows are just so good. They're so much better than Smoke Sessions, it's unreal. I'd say that they're better than Gemini too, to be honest. Gemini's not bad, but I think something about this collection, it just like kicked it up to the next level. And that's why I get a little disappointed when I see things like the Millennium Pink, is that what it was called? The Millennium Pink? Millennial Pink. Millennial Pink. That one just kind of is like a dud to me. I didn't get it, I haven't swatched it, I don't know how it performs, but just looking at it, it just didn't spark anything in me. The Rust palette, I thought about it for a hot minute. There was a couple of shades that drew my eye, but on the whole, I was kind of like, not so much. The 421, I obviously ordered it. I'm excited to get it, but not to the same degree that I was with this collection. Regardless, we're here to talk about these shadows. So this one down here, I just think is stunning. Like, you can find this color in a multitude of different formulas, different brands have put it out, but they rarely perform as opaquely as this one. Like, you find these like minty sort of greens and they kind of fade away to nothing, or they're really only good for the inner corner because they're so faint. But this one, like, you could put this all over your lid and it would be amazing. This one here, I love the little bit of shimmer in there. And there's enough dark options in here, including a matte navy and a really, really dark gray, that you don't need to rely on this one. Like, if you want to deepen up the outer corner or line your lower lash line, you can use a matte option for it. And this one you could just pack all over the lid, and it's just gonna have that little bit of shimmer just to make it that much more visually interesting. And then with this one, it's just such a deep, dark red, and there is an even deeper option in there. Velorio, I believe is how you pronounce it. There it is there. But with this one, I don't have anything else like that. I'm pretty sure I don't. I have a lot of palettes, like I got a lot of palettes, but I really don't think I have another shade quite like that one. With this one here, again, it's not a bad shade. It really isn't, and it is the kind of shade that I would normally go for my inner corner. It's what I've used today on my inner corner. But with the rest of the color story that's going in here, I think it would have been nice if they had used something that had like a bit of a blue shift to it, or even a little bit of a pink shift to it, rather than just like a flat goldy champagne kind of color. Again, it's just a personal preference thing, but I had to pick a least favorite, so there it is. But overall, this palette is just, I love this one so much. The last time I did one of these videos, I ended up ranking my palettes. I think I could probably do that on the fly with these as well. In fact, I don't think it would be all that difficult, to be honest. So let's do it. All right, so the last place is going to be the Gunmetal Stack. Like I said, I just don't use it a ton. It's really not a versatile palette at all. I will reach for these shades to like use with other shades, but on its own, as its own like little unit, not so much. Then we're gonna have the Smoke Sessions. Again, it just comes down to the performance of it, and these shades, like if they were easier to work with, it probably would have ranked a little bit higher, but because it's so bloody fussy, I get nervous about even just bringing it out. These kind of are a toss-up. It really depends on what mood I'm in, but I'll go with Radioactive being 4th place and then Gemini being 3rd, but they kind of jockey for position in there. Simply because they're so wildly divergent. Like this one is obviously a much more everyday appropriate, more neutral kind of option than say this. But yeah, they kind of share that mid ground for me. Then it's going to be the Vita, and then in case you couldn't have already predicted this just based on what I've said throughout the rest of this video, it's going to be Morte in 1st place. But honestly, like if you want to try Melt and you haven't yet, I would recommend one of these 2 palettes because they're so good. All right, so that is it, guys. Those are my favorite and least favorite shades in my Melt palettes. Yeah, that's about it. I think I'm going to do one more of these videos with my Huda palettes, but I have a lot of them because I got really sucked into those like mini obsession palettes. So I'm a little intimidated about like going through all of those shades, swatching them all out, figuring which one is my favorite, which one's my least, all that. But I will get over that. Can't promise a timeline on it, but I will do that one next. All right, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed this, please feel free, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, I would love it if you would. I have like a little square down here. You can just press on that to make it as easy as possible. And otherwise, I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.
Gotta get it right now. Yeah, push all the limits with you.